Hello and welcome to this edition of HCS Matters. I'm John Wright, Public Relations Director for Hardin County Schools. We're at the Early College and Career Center, and actually we're getting ready to break for the winter break as we tape this interview. So it's an exciting time across the district, and everybody's anxious to begin those 2 days or 2 weeks and a day of winter break. We're with Brandy New. Brandy is the Instructional Technology Coordinator for Hardin County Schools. And Brandy, tell us what the Instructional Technology Coordinator does.
I knew that was going to be the first question. I work with teachers, so I'm in classrooms doing lessons, trying to show them how to use different like Chromebook kind of technology or robots and other things, but I also design PD for teachers, and I lead a couple different groups where there's a representative from certain schools. I give them information and work in training them so that they can take it back and kind of disseminate it. So a little bit of everything.
The reason I wanted to visit with you is that the classroom has become more digital now than it ever has. And we could probably said the same thing 5 years ago about the years leading up to that. But how is technology driving what students are learning?
I think we're at a spot right now where, regardless of what job you're getting when you leave your public education, that there's going to be technology involved. And so that's the point we're at with kids, is that we need them to understand that it is a tool. It's a tool for their learning. So it's going to be a tool for their job as well. It's not just a toy. It's not just for Roblox or Fortnite or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so by using it in the classroom as a tool now, we kind of set that going forward. We give them the skills, but we also give them that mindset that this is something that can benefit me. This is something I need to exist in my life in order to work. So
a lot of folks, including me, would probably say, well, I turned out just fine. I didn't have all that when I was growing up or when I was going through school. But they have it. They're going to use it. We might as well teach them to use it right.
Oh, 100%. And there's a difference. They are digital natives, right? So they were born using these things. And I think a lot of times that teachers, we assume, oh, well, they know how to use it better than we do. They may know how to use it better, but do they know how to use it as a tool? Do they know how to use it correctly?
Right.
And that's where we come in. I mean, it is our job as a part of the public school system to facilitate and to make sure that they have those skills and those appropriate skills.
So what are some things that you're focusing on, or you have focused on? You've been in this position for a year, did a wonderful job of teaching at Vine Grove before that. But so I guess let me go back and ask you, how has the transition been from classroom to now you're kind of a district leader? How's that transition been for you?
It's interesting. It's exciting. I feel like I teach myself new stuff every day, or I'm learning new stuff every day. So that's been a big curve, because I'm definitely doing as much learning as I am teaching right now. And it's interesting too to get to be everywhere and to get to see all levels. I was an elementary school teacher, so now I'm, however, in classrooms from kindergarten all the way up to high school. I think one of the major things for me has been being around high school kids is amazing. We have some kids that just, the way they think and the things that they can do, it blows me away. It gives me hope for the future. The past few months has been really interesting. And then it's definitely a pressure situation as well, because whereas before I was responsible for what went down in my room and then I tried to help in my building, now I'm trying to make sure that things are going as the best they can in 23 buildings. And I think one of our big focuses right now is that the computers, like we have about, I think, 10,000 devices for 14,000 students in Hardin County Schools, and we need to make sure that it is making the teaching and the learning better. Computers and technology are not a replacement for a real live teacher. They're not. The teacher still has to facilitate that and do the correct things with the technology in their classroom, and I think that's our focus right now and where we are, because we're on a learning curve. We didn't grow up with it, so we have to learn the skills.
Right.
And then learn how to best use it with our kids.
So how do we do that? How do we make sure that the teacher is facilitating, leading, being the head learner in the room versus letting that computer do that?
Right, so we still have the same content that we had, reading, writing, math, social studies, science. And so we try to use the technology to up the lesson, right, to up the rigor or to up the involvement. And one of the ways to do that is the 4 C's for 21st century learning, so the 4 skills that kids we feel like are going to need coming out of high school, going to the workforce, and that's collaboration, creativity, communication, and critical thinking. And the devices, the Chromebooks can bring that, right? We can communicate with kids outside, or students in a classroom can communicate with other students outside of their classroom, or outside of their school, outside of the state, you know? It just brings that another layer to the rigor, to the depth of the lessons that we're using.
So how do kids stay, how do they learn to communicate effectively with each other while that Chromebook or while that iPad or whatever's in front of them?
Yeah, and that's one of the very first things whenever I focus my instruction for teachers on communication is that we do have to make sure that kids realize that it's a tool. So I'm not going to get on Google Classroom in a class discussion and say, hey, what up? You know,
right.
It's not texting.
Right.
And so it's kind of the same difference where if I was speaking to you outside of work versus in work. So it's that formal versus informal, a tool versus a toy. And we just have to specifically teach the kids. We want you to type in complete sentences and give an intelligent response, and it's not the same as at school as it would be if you're just texting a friend or putting something on Facebook.
Right.
It's different. There's a difference in the way that we communicate with people.
Right. So we are reading books through technology. We are applying for colleges through technology. We are doing everything through technology. So how are students, it's really not an adaptation. I think you hit it on the head. It's not really an adaptation for us or for our students. It's more of an adaptation for us. So how, as you're going into classrooms, how are teachers transitioning into that? How are they picking up the adaptation, I guess is what I'm saying.
Different teachers, different ways.
Right.
But I think one of the first things that we do here in Hardin County Schools is probably starting 2-3 years ago when we switched to the Google tools, or the G Suite tools, is the teachers need to understand, I think a lot of people, the basics of how things work. And so we have PD on that. We have online PD on that. We have in-person PD. We have summers. We have weekends. We have after school. So we teach them the basics and then kind of start to edge that door open for, okay, now that you're comfortable with the basics, this is what we can do with this tool. We have the Innovate Fellows, one of those at each school, that are there to help facilitate that. So a lot of them are Google certified trainers, which means that they're gone through special training to be able to teach adults, which is a whole different ballgame. So that they can then start to show, okay, you know how to use this tool, what can we do with it in your classroom? What can the kids start to do with it? And it's funny because as a classroom teacher, I know a lot of times the kids took the lead. Like all I had to do was sprinkle out some of the knowledge and their little brains, even in elementary school, would start running, and next thing I knew we had this whole assignment or a website or whatever, and I'm like, that was awesome.
Right.
And I just kind of had to let go, and I think that's key too for teachers.
Right.
Letting go a little bit of that control and seeing what the kids can do with these tools that they're more comfortable
Right.
with.
We're at least one generation, maybe two, into a generation of teachers that are used to the things that you're talking about. But yet there's probably a generation of mine and maybe a little older that is not. That's not what they picked up when they came out of WKU or UK or whatever with their teaching certificate. So how are they adapting? What I've seen, well, but you may have a different opinion. But
Can I tell you this? I
Sure.
don't think it's generational.
Okay.
We have first-year teachers that are 22 that are comfortable with using technology in their classroom. We have people who've been teaching for 25 years that are in their 50s that are comfortable. It doesn't seem to be generational.
Good.
It actually seems to be more about a person's characteristics. Like the people who aren't, I tell people all the time, the reason I have this job, I'm not afraid to click. I'll click anywhere. I'll try anything. I'll play with it, and that's how I learn. And it really seems to be a difference in that. Who's afraid to click and who's not? Like,
Right.
It doesn't seem to be generational to me at all.
Okay, good.
Which is really cool. One of the people that I first, probably 8 years ago, started to follow on Twitter and learn from as a classroom teacher, she's older than my mother and has taught for 30 plus years.
Wow.
But she has a paperless classroom.
Right.
So I don't think it's an age thing. I really think it's that inside, there's just something about people that they're either willing to like try it or, whatever, or are a little more hesitant and
Sure.
need some time with it first.
Sure. You talked about the G Suite, and we are a
Yes.
G Suite district. I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
Google Drives, everything,
Yes.
or a lot of things that we do in this district. How has that really enhanced what we do?
I think the power of the G Suite tools is, to me, the communication and collaboration. Before, if I made a Word document, then this was version 1 and I email it to John Wright and John Wright sends it back, and then we have to go back and forth. Whereas with the Google tools, we can work on it live. We can both be in there together. We can be having a side conversation. I think it just amps things up for teacher to teacher, teacher to student, student to student, because it's live and you have that communication and collaboration piece that we just don't have with the stagnant Microsoft tools. Not that there's not a place for the Microsoft tools.
Right.
There's places for both. But.
Sure. So how are, in 5 years, we sit down and have the same conversation, what are we talking about then?
I think it's more application. I believe that we are going to a place to where students are creating more, where they are kind of curators of their own content. They're making more choices about what they want to learn and how they want to learn it. I really feel like student voice and being student-centered is kind of the wave of the future. Using the skills that we teach them in the classroom in a real world, truly working on projects outside of their school or working on bigger ideas. I really feel like things are going more project-based and more student-driven. Or at least I hope they are.
Right. And so our students really are, and I'm not just saying this bragging because I work for the district, I'm the PR director, I'm not, that's a big reason, but that's not the main reason. Our students are really going to have a leg up on their peers because they are learning a good deal through technology. So when they go out into that real world, they're ready.
Oh, yeah, and I'm hoping that, like I said, that they're seeing it as a tool, they're seeing this is what this can do for my work and my education, not this is what can do for my social life and my boredom or whatever.
Right.
It's just a different switch for them.
Okay. We're going to hang out some in Miss New's classroom. She actually teaches a class here at the Early College and Career Center. So we're going to hang out with her for a few minutes and see how she leads and what the students are learning and picking up and ready to leap into the technology world when they graduate.
All right, first years. This is what I've noticed that is one, really great news, and at the same time, kind of like not so great news. So the good part is that you all, like once you've settled in to the curriculum online, y'all are like focused and like mad people over there, just like killing it. And you have been incredibly focused and definitely on task every day. You're coming in, you're grabbing your stuff, and you're getting with it, and you are plowing through that curriculum. Yes? So that's a good thing, yeah? What I think we might have lost sight of, the little bit of the bad part, is that we are learning this computer language, correct? It's kind of like whenever I taught kindergarten, they learned letters, right? And they learned how to put the letter sounds with the letter and then put it together and make the words. Yes? Does anybody remember actually learning that? Probably not, because once you learn how to read, you just kind of forget how it was that you learned. But anyways, where we're at right now, you guys are kind of learning the alphabet, right? But then what do you have to take and do?
Put it together in a word.
You got to put it together, and then you have to read all the words on the page, and then you have to understand what the page said. I think right now you guys are about this deep in learning the letters, and we might have lost sight of what are we going to do with that to put it to use in the real world. Does this make sense? Yes, at all? So today we're going to have a little fun and put it to some use in the real world. Deal? The Sphero, which you know I love deeply because they are such versatile, fun little robots. You can actually program them, drag and drop, pull the blocks over. I know Hannah and I have done this before, or any other groups, and then look up under the, like looking under the hood is what you would call it in a car. We can put the blocks there and then we can flip it over and see the Java so that you guys can see what the Java really looks like on there. We're going to examine that this morning and see if you can get the Spheros to do the things, all the things with Java instead of just dragging and dropping.
So Ms. New, I see that obviously the big thing to me that I see in this room, they're all ladies. Talk about this Girls Who Code class that you teach.
Yes, so this is the third year of the class. It's my first year teaching it. And research shows that girls are opting out of science, technology, engineering, even higher level math classes, starting like 7th and 8th grade. So these girls were recruited, the ones who were originally here, starting in like 6th grade. And now we're kind of pulling them just as freshmen, but it is a class that they can stay in through all 4 years of high school. There's 21 girls in this room. So that almost quadruples the number of girls that would used to be in just our programming pathway. So we had that pathway already, say maybe 70, 80 kids a year, maybe 4 or 5 girls, and not necessarily completing or sticking with it. But now that we've put them in here together, we're having a much higher retention rate and also recruiting more girls in the first place.
So why aren't females getting into into these STEM pathways or into these technology pathways?
Okay, so research shows for days that they're not here, and it gives us suggestions as to how to keep them here. As far as being able to creep into somebody's mind and know why they're opting out, that's a little foggier because it might be a personal choice. Maybe it's confidence. Maybe it's being alone in a room. I don't know if you heard one of the girls was talking a minute ago about being on a robotics team, and she said, well, I was on there with all boys and it was just hard. You know, and middle school is that time where boys and girls are awkward.
Right.
So I don't know. Research doesn't tell us exactly why they're opting out, just that they are.
Okay.
So we're actively trying to recruit them, get them engaged in elementary, keep them engaged, right? The entire class.
Sure.
And then have this sort of opportunity in high school as something for them to shoot for so they stay engaged.
And the industry people that I've talked to seem to say that the more female, or if you're a female getting into a STEM field, you're probably going to make more money.
Yeah, well, females are different kind of thinkers, right?
Yep.
So I mean, if we're talking
That's right.
problem solvers and critical thinkers, you are missing half of the problem solvers and critical thinkers in the world. So if you only have half of your people solving the problems, who knows? We might be missing an entire solutions that are there. Also, women are a different kind of leader. So we listened this year. Does anybody remember when we listened to the Girl Scouts of America lady at the very beginning? What is special about female leaders?
Communication, compassion.
Their communication. They communicate with people, they're open, they talk and they listen. Compassionate, so they have empathy for the people that work below them. Those are two of the big ones. Communication and compassion. So female leaders have those characteristics, talking in generalities, that maybe a male counterpart would not. So they can actually be desirable leaders in
Right.
some places. So yeah, we listened to the leader of the Girl Scouts of America at the beginning of the year do a TED Talk on that one. So yeah.
So what are these girls going to walk out of here with when they finish the Girls Who Code class? What's your objective? What's the hope for you to prepare
Okay.
them for the next step?
They're going to have MTA, which is Microsoft Technology Associate certification. So those are, like everything else in this building, industry level certifications. They're going to come out of here already having a set of skills and certs to prove that would put them in a place to get a job immediately or to go on to college and study further. We've also been having, some of the girls know they're sciencey or mathy, or you know what I mean? Like they like it, but they're not 100% sold on programming. So we've talked several times about how programming is a set of skills. I had to learn how to cook. Doesn't mean I'm a chef. In today's world, knowing how to program, you can use that as a teacher. I taught myself as a teacher. You can use that as a lawyer. You can use that as, you know, so it doesn't matter what your job is. And then we have a speaker once a week. We have a female STEM person once a week that we Skype with or that we bring into the classroom. Last week we had a marine biologist who taught herself how to code so that she could crunch big data from Canada because Dakota wants to be a marine biologist. And so I connected with her so that we could connect, and she talked to the whole class. But now she and Dakota are communicating, pen paling, the modern version of pen paling. You guys are emailing back and forth and talking on Twitter. And she might get to go visit her or set up some sort of job experience for her. So we're just connecting with women in all sorts of STEM fields. We've had some chemical engineers from our community partner, Dow Chemical, that was lovely. They work so well with us. We have a physicist tomorrow. We have someone who is in rockets and ballistics that we're talking to later this year. So just so they can kind of see that, because you can't be what you can't see. If you're not seeing girls in that field, you may not know it's an option for you to go there. I know that was my personal issue.
Sure.
I love science and math. I just wasn't sure what to do with
Sure.
it. So I started to teach it instead.
Right. Okay. Well, we're going to let you. We're just kind of hang out with you in the
Yes.
classroom.
Did you all write this, or are you just driving it? She coded it. You coded it. Let me see. I don't think it counts if you have to move the line. Nice. Okay, so I think there's some way that we can work out the...
Oh, reset. It was Christmas. That's cute.
You love everything Christmas, don't you? See, that's my favorite part of these. I want some of these bolts.
Yeah.
These aren't mine, I'm borrowing them. That's the reason, one of the reasons that I'm trying out for the Sphero thing is because I want to get cheap prices on their stuff. I
Okay,
love
ready?
the little board.
Are we doing it again?
We should be able to program the little board. using some of your if-else stuff, like if
It's
it's
facing north.
right, else, blah blah blah,
shows
or like
this, if
I wonder if
that's
even if we could get it
this.
to where like it hits a wall, like if like it could go straight and like have a smiley, and if it hits a wall or hits
Rounding
something, yes,
Wait, Crystal.
because there's sensors in there.
We should have it like spin at the very end.
Okay, well then do that.
You have it spin?
I want
There's a spin.
At the very end? Yeah. Okay.
It would be super cool if it did a different color as it went through every one of your.
Oh my gosh, like every 2 seconds
have
it
to-
changes color.
girl.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you could add it. I don't care.
Yeah, because it's like the parameters. Because like the 90, 145, and 1 is a parameter. Like each one is like.
Oh, it is because that's your degree. Oh, that makes sense. See, I hadn't even made that connection between that and the parameters. That's why I think it's cool to actually use it for once.
Yeah. Is the 1 the 1 second? Like right here?
Yeah.
Can you go right here?
Yeah, probably.
I
Because
wanna
it's like
change it to go
because this
longer.
is
Roll,
because this is 90 degrees and then it's for
speed,
of, like,
and then
1
1 second.
yeah.
Like Crystal just made a connection between the parameters that she's using right now and one that's a few past that, and just the rolling parameters in this. So you kind of start to see like, shush, this could actually do things besides, make pictures and ask me weird questions on my computer.
Shows like where you went.
Yeah, y'all didn't know. I use that one with the little kids a lot.
I like that.
Like kindergartners will have them try to make it go in a square and then look at the square and the gyroscope. I wish I understood what that meant.
Let me see.
The gyroscope is the part that makes it roll in there.
Yeah.
This one, I feel like we could use a lot in.
Math?
Yes, don't you in high school math? If I could convince a teacher to take
more
and
like
use
high
this,
school physics. Correct.
is that physics? There's no high school math that would be.
I'm doing AP Calc right now, and so right now we're doing like different accelerations through derivatives, which is like kind of like this. So where you like have
See,
a
'cause
regular
my mom
equation
does
of like
acceleration
code,
stuff in physics.
where it's like the original equation, and then you take 2 derivatives, and then you get the acceleration because of it.
Yes.
And that's kind of like this, because like you have like the 2 regular
Yes.
lines.
So do you think we
Then
could
your
somehow
derivative
convince, because you all know enough about what you're studying and your teachers, do you think we could make a lesson out of this? Get kids to code it and use this to learn something that relates to what you're doing in math that I could sell to your high school teachers. And I forgot that your mom teaches physics. Do you think she'd be willing to use these in class
think
and help me
this one would
flesh
be
out
good.
some
That would be
lessons?
So cool.
I feel like listen,
I would be
wait,
so down
hold
to
on.
like text her or call her right now and be like, yo.
Okay.
Here, this right here
This is really
will
cool
be
then.
better in velocity because that's your first derivative. That's saying whether
I can
you
use this
go
in
like
engineering too.
where you go forward, and once it goes negative, it comes back, and then it goes back to going straight forward.
Yes.
That's velocity.
Yes. I know what velocity is. I just don't know the math behind it. Yeah. I did.
In
At one point in time.
at one point in
Yeah.
time.
No, I love it. So do you think you could help me figure out like challenges that students would have to do and then look at certain of these graphs so that I could convince high school teachers that by having the kids do this challenge and then use this graph
They could.
that we could play with robots in class
Correct.
and learn something.
Okay, we're here with Dakota Rogers. She is a junior at North Hardin High School, and Ms. New was talking about your desire to become a marine biologist. So how is what you're learning in this class going to help you with that?
Marine biology, there's a part of coding that they're trying to move into so it helps like with their tracking of animals. Like the person I am talking to, Miss Danielle Quinn, she is a marine biologist who self-taught herself about coding, and she uses it to like track sharks, and they need more people who have more coding experience involved with like marine biology, if that makes sense.
Sure. So what got you interested in marine biology?
Ever since I was little, I've had like just something about the connection with animals, and it's been my dream job since I was little.
So when you were thinking about this in 3rd grade, did you envision yourself working on getting into it through technology?
No, I did not. I didn't, even in 8th grade, I didn't imagine myself in a computer programming class.
So what So what brought you in? What made you interested, first of all, to even think about a computer programming class?
My last trimester of 8th grade, I got into a computer class, and I made my own game out of coding, and that like just drew my attention in from there.
So Ms. New talked about girls maybe have a different mindset of maybe I don't want to get into that, that's a guy's field or whatever. If you could sit down and talk to an 8th grader about, hey, you really should get into this, what would you say to them?
I guess first I would talk to them about like what their interests are and ask them if they had any interest in this, and explain to them that I never had any interest at all, because either I thought I wasn't smart enough or I just wasn't interested in it. But now that I'm in it, we have several girls, even Hannah, she does all types of sports and she's involved in this. So.
Okay. So where do you see yourself going in 2 years? You're a year and a half. You're walking across the graduation stage. What do you see yourself doing with this? What you're learning now?
I'm probably gonna start college, hopefully at FSU, and do more internships, I guess, or shadowing marine biologists.
This project-based learning that you're picking up, and how is it helping you?
It's helping me a lot because I'm getting more, I guess, experience with the different languages. Like I have my Python MTA, and right now I'm working on getting my JavaScript MTA. And then after I get JavaScript, I'm going to go to HTML and CSS, and then my CompTIA.
So do you feel like you're going to have a kind of a leg up on those in college, or maybe those in a career for you when you get out?
Yes, because it gives you more, it opens people's eyes and helps you get like better careers and better colleges.
Ms. New talked about females thinking differently because you're problem solvers. How do you see that in yourself?
Yeah, because I noticed, like, I have a lot of guy friends, and most of them, they don't use their head a lot of times, and they just do the first thing they think about. But I've noticed that girls, like, take more thought into it and actually think it through and then go forward with it.
All right. Well, you've certainly proven that. Thanks for letting us hang out with
Thank you.
All right. Dakota Rogers, she's a student in Ms. New's Girls Who Code class here at the Early College and Career Center. As you can tell, lots of cool and exciting things going on. We've truly enjoyed our time in Ms. New's class, and the classroom has certainly changed over the last 10 years, certainly over the last 20 years, and even over the last 3 or 4 years, is that we are becoming more project-driven, like things are out in the real world. We're helping students to build that cooperation and those soft skills that they need to succeed, and certainly putting that work ethic certification that they will earn to good use. So thanks for hanging out with us for this edition of HCS Matters.